CE's body of knowledge and virtual library. Members receive discounted rates for conferences, continuing education seminars, certifications, professional development presentations, and AACE publications. AACE arms our members with the technical tools and expertise to complete projects on time and on cost, while meeting investment and operational goals. We have been the leader in the cost and management industry since 1956, with members in 100 countries and over 80 local sections. Success is not a big step in the future. Success is a small step taken right now. Find out more at web.aacei.org/membership and join AACE International today.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Let's few more minutes. We are about to start our technical webinar. So thank you very much for attending this webinar in advance. A kind reminder, so before the end of this technical webinar, we are going to share the link for your certificate of attendance on the chat box later on. So maybe you could raise your questions, type in your questions on the chat box if you have any. And by the end of the presentation, our guest speaker will answer it, or you can raise it later on after the technical presentations. I think everybody is our AACE and President Mr. Gassan Al-Dusari. So he introduced to us our technical guest speaker tonight about the essential elements on EOT claims. So Mr. Gassan Al-Dusari, can you?
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ghassan Al-Dosri, President of AACE, the Arabian Gulf section of the 23-24 term. On behalf of the AGS board, I welcome you all to our fourth technical webinar of this cycle. I would like to request all professionals and top management to sponsor their professional employees to join our forthcoming CCP certification courses, which will start on 3rd of November of this year. Today's technical webinar will focus on essential elements of EOT claims delay, delay events liability, contractual compliance, causation and entitlement, delay analysis approaches. And the speaker is Muhammad Hijazi, who is an LLM, MBA, BMB, CCP, P3O, Associate Planning Director, Red Sea Global, and has successfully acquired the following achievement throughout his career. He has a Master in Construction Law from the Stanford University in Manchester, UK, Master of Business Administration from the University of People in the US, Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Ain Shams University in Egypt. He's a consultant with the Saudi Council of Engineers, and he's a certified cost professional from the AACE. He's also a project management professional from PMI, and also a P3O portfolio program and project officers credential from Axelos, US, UK, FIDIC contracts consultant, and author of 50 planning fundamentals and fundamentals of construction contracts, and has more than 20 years experience in mega projects involving buildings, infrastructure, and roads. Once again, thank you for joining us, and I hope this webinar would be beneficial for your professional excellence. Back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So can you make it a full slide presentation, Mr. Muhammad? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Ghassan, and thank you all ACA Arab Gulf section members. Thank you for having me. Thank you for sharing the knowledge and networking and enhancing the career and profession of construction and project management in the whole area. Thank you for the attendees. Now I'm sharing my screen. Is it clear? My voice is clear? Everything is okay?
Yes, it's clear. It's clear. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So as Mr. Ghassan said, now we're going to discuss today essential elements of extension of time claims. The content will be the delay events. We'll discuss the delay events and different types of delay events, the contractual procedure, and the items of contract we need to follow and to consider while preparing extension of time claim, entitlement, and how to quantify the delay and entitlement in case of delay events. So we'll use the delay analysis, and we will discuss the delay analysis approaches from ACE recommended practice. Then we'll have few case studies for application. First, to classify the delay, we may have delay caused by two parties of the contract. So we have in the construction contract, we have normally two parts. We have a contract between the employer and contractor. So the delay can be caused by the contractor, and we call it contractor risk event. So in this case, the contractor will be responsible for this delay, and we call it non-excusable. So the contractor is not excused for this delay, so is responsible for this delay and non-compensable accordingly. In case of other events, which is out of the contractor's control, the contractor can be entitled to extension of time claim. So these events are employer risk events. So mainly it is employer risk event. We have contractor risk event, and on the other side, we have employer risk event. So if the delay is caused by the employer and the employer risk event, in this case, we have extension of time claim. So can we mute all, please? So in this case, where the contractor will be entitled to extension of time claim. The other case is the neutral event. So the delay event can be caused by one party of the two parties of the contract, either contractor or employer, or it can be none of them. In this case, we call it neutral event. So it's none of them, but it's impacting the project and causing the delay to the project. In such case, the contractor will be also entitled to an extension of time claim. The fourth case is to have delays by both parties at the same time. So in this case, we call it concurrent delay, and the contractor will be also entitled to extension of time claim. So all of these events will entitle the contractor to extension of time claim, either employer risk event, concurrent, or neutral event. The elements of a claim, when we are going to submit a claim, we need to consider these elements and include them in our submission. The cause or the events that cause the delay, the effect or the impact of the claim or quantum of cost. We have the effect and the impact of the claim, and we need to prove the causal link. And this will go to the causation, and there are two types of causation, factual and legal causations. So these are the three elements that the contractor needs to prove in his submission of extension of time claim, and to mention it and to include all of them in the submission to be properly prepared. First, the delay events. What are the delay events? So we can have, as we said, to classify the delay event. So it can be design error or omission. In this case, if we are following the rip book, which is designed by the employer, who will be responsible for the delay? Will it be employer risk event or contractor risk event? In this case, it will be employer risk event. So the design by employer, so it will be employer risk event. The employer and all parties are representing the employer, like the consultant or the employer's team or anybody representing the employer will if this part is causing a delay, it will be employer lack of resources or progress. So normally the contractor is responsible for deploying sufficient resources and producing with good production rate to achieve the completion date of the project. And if there is lack on these things, it will be contractor delay. Unusual or adverse weather. So is it employer risk event or contractor risk event? It's not an employer risk event, and it's not also a contractor risk event. So in this case, it will be a neutral event. So it's not each of the parties. Late procurement. So the contractor was delayed on in the making the purchase order or delayed to supply the material to site. So this would be caused by the contractor. Force majeure or exceptional events, which also is out of the both parties' control, and nobody can prevent the consequences of these events. So it will be also neutral event. So we may have many causes of delay. And to expand a bit more the delay related measures, so we have, as we said, we have employer, contractor, and we have different cases of these events and measures taken. The delay can be contractor risk event, as we said, and we will call it inexcusable because the contractor is not excused because he caused the delay himself and no extension of time at this time. The other thing is excusable, which the contractor will have extension of time, and we said it can be employer risk event, and in this case it will be compensable. So it will be excusable, compensable. Compensable means the contractor will be entitled, in addition to the extension of time, will be entitled to the indirect cost caused by this delay. So this indirect cost, or we call prolongation cost, will be compensated to the contractor. So it will be compensable and excusable at the same time. So it will be extension of time and compensable in this case if employer risk event. If a neutral event, so it's not caused by the employer, they will share the consequences. So it will be excusable, extension of time. So the employer cannot impose delay damages on the contractor because of the extension of time. But at the same time, the contractor will not be entitled to compensation. In case of concurrent delay, the contractor caused the delay at the same time, two independent delay, one by the employer, one by the contractor. So the contractor would work this time even if the employer didn't delay the project. So the contractor will not be entitled also to compensation. So these two cases will be non-compensable. However, in such cases, if the delay of the employer is more, in the concurrent delay, the delay of the employer is more, it can be partially compensable. So in this case, we will first consider if it's excusable or not. Then under the excusable, we will find it compensable or not. So the excusability is a prerequisite to compensability. We have additional measures. The contractor is responsible, and it's the duty of the contractor to mitigate the delay to the minimum impact. So the contractor don't exaggerate the impact of this event and mitigate it as much as possible without cost or with minimal cost. So this is the mitigation, and this is a duty of the contractor. If there is an event will cause a delay of the project, if we will go with the normal procedure and normal construction execution plan, it will delay the project for 8 months. And the contractor can do simple resequencing or a minor change in the construction methodology or the execution plan with a minimal cost and reduce this to 4 months instead of 8. Is the responsibility for the contractor to do so, and will be entitled only to 4-month extension of time, not 8. Some other cases, the acceleration may affect this, make the contractor accelerate the work and complete earlier than the completion date by direction of the employer, or because of the employer didn't give him the entitlement on time, so the contractor doesn't know what is the entitlement of the extension of time, so he accelerated to avoid this, and then he found himself entitled, so entitled to an extension of time. So we call it constructive acceleration or voluntary acceleration. The contractor has other business and different projects, and he want to finish early and leave the project, so he accelerate voluntary. These are different cases also related to delay in some time, and if there is an extension of time claim and there is a delay of the entitlement or delay of the award of the extension of time, in this case the contractor, if he did constructive acceleration to avoid this, he could be entitled to the cost of this acceleration. In some cases, the employer is causing a delay. The contractor finds himself the project will be delayed anyway, so he will slow down the project. We call it pacing. Maybe assume the employer is affecting the project is 2 buildings. The employer is affecting 1 building and delaying this building by let's say 6 months, and the other building is not delayed. The contractor slow down the work on the other building and do pacing, because anyway the project will be delayed by 6 months. But it's important to give notice to the employer in such case. And there is also one more thing which may cause a delay. It's a disruption. There is some interference from the employer affecting the productivity of the contractor, and this may delay the project or not. May the contractor can deploy more resources and without delay, but it can be a cost claim at this time if the employer is affecting the productivity of the contractor, and it can be also extension of time if it is affecting the time and delaying the project. So all of these topics we need to know when we want to talk or know about the delay and delay analysis. So we need to know about all of these topics. We will not discuss all of them, but we'll discuss the key points of them. This is about the delay event. The second element of the extension of time claim is the effect or impact. So to know the impact, we need to quantify the delay. This event delayed the project. Delayed by how many days or how many months? So we need to quantify this delay. We need to make delay analysis. The delay analysis, it takes place between 2 disciplines of project management, or the niches. It is between planning and scheduling. We need to know planning and scheduling, and at the same time we need to know the contractual and legal aspects. So it is a topic between these 2 topics, and we will discuss in the delay analysis approaches. We will discuss the delay analysis approaches from the ACE recommended practice. The third element is the causation. To know the causal link, to prove that this event caused that delay. So when we link this responsibility, we can prove the entitlement. This is caused by employer. This much of delay is caused only by employer risk event. So we can say this delay caused by employer, so it's excusable and compensable. The contractor will be entitled to an extension of time, and will be entitled to compensation of the prolongation cost. So when we do this causal link, we can determine entitlement in the extension of time claim or any type of claim. The causal link, it is in this causation, there are two types of causation. One is the factual causation, when we can ask ourselves why the project is delayed. It's because this activity was extended. Why this activity was extended? It's because the employer delayed in issuing the design, delayed in reviewing or approving the submissions by his engineer. So when we ask why, and also we know the factual cause, and also we can ask or make but-for tests. If this action didn't happen, what would be the result? If this action of the employer didn't happen, we found this is the root cause, this event of the employer. If this event of the employer didn't happen, would the project be delayed with this much or not? If the contractor was not delayed and only this event happened, would this delay the project or not? So we need to check the causation and the factual causation. The other type of causation is called proximate or legal causation. This checks the contractual risk allocation. What is the contract saying? Is the contract saying this or legal liability? Is the employer liable for this event? And the employer has direct contribution to this event. So we need to check it from the legal or contractual perspective. Maybe you are saying this event is by the employer, but the contract is saying the contractor is liable to do this or to fix this with the contractor, and the contractor didn't do his contractual obligation. So in such case, the contractor will be claimed under the employer risk event. So we need to check these both types of causation to make the causal link between the event and effect or impact. This is the
Muhammad, sorry for interruption. Can you make a little bit louder? Maybe some of our guests cannot hear a little bit. Thank you.
okay. So now we discussed three elements. The three elements of the extension of time claim. These three elements are cause, effect, and the causal link. And in the cause, we discuss the events and the types of events and the topics. We need to know about the events and the related topics to the events. This is for the event or the cause. And for the effect, we will go to the quantification of this effect and the delay analysis approaches, and we will present and demonstrate the delay analysis approaches discussed by or published by ACA recommended practices. For the causation, we now presented the two types of causation, the factual and legal or proximate causation. The next topic now is the contractual procedure, how to follow the contract. We said we have a part of the causation in the contract. What else we need to know about the contract and contractual procedure in case of submitting extension of time claim? We need to know the contractual rights and obligations. The contractor will have rights to get an extension of time claim under certain topics or pursuant to certain topics or certain clauses or provisions in the contract. And this is the contract entitlement. The contractor or these provisions entitling the contractor to an extension of time claim in case of occurrence of these events and affecting the time for completion for the project. The other thing is the obligation. The contractor has an obligation to follow the contractual procedure obliged to submit notices. If the contract is stating that the contractor shall submit a notice in a certain time, the contractor should comply with the contract and submit notices and all documents required or detailed particulars within a specified time frame in the contract. So we need to follow these two items. The first one is the entitlement. If the contractor is entitled, then we will check the compliance of the contract and the delay analysis. So the entitlement is a prerequisite to the compliance and delay analysis. If the contractor is not entitled, we don't need to check the compliance if he complied with the contract and we made a delay analysis and we check the impact, but this event is not entitling the contractor to an extension of time claim. So no need to make this. That's why entitlement is a prerequisite to compliance and delay analysis. We need to check it first and prove it first. So how to prove the contractual entitlement? We need to go, as we said, to the contract and the clauses of the contract, which says or states or proves the contract. In case of occurrence of this event, the contractor will be entitled to extension of time. We'll here mention an example from the causes of delay in the FEDIC 2017. There is clause 8.5 is extension of time for completion. I'm mentioning some events like weather and events out of the contractor control. It's not only this, the clause 1.9 is delay in drawings or instructions. Rights of access to site. The employer should provide access to site to the contractor for site position. Unforeseeable physical condition, if there is underground and unknown condition affected the project and delayed the project. The same for geological finding. Delay caused by authorities. It is neutral events. Delay caused by authorities. A variation procedure, if there is a variation of additional work or any change in the project which are causing delay to the project. Adjustment for changes in law, also neutral if there is a change by law. Suspension by contractor in case of delay of payment, the employer delayed to pay the statement or the payment on time. The contractor has the right to suspend the work under FEDIC and to claim for extension of time. The exceptional events. In case of exceptional events, these neutral events, also the contractor is entitled to an extension of time. This is an example from FEDIC, and you need to follow your contract. Maybe your contract has different clauses and different events, so you need to follow your contract and mention the clause you are referring while you are submitting your extension of time claim. So I'm submitting this extension of time claim as a contractor because of this event, and the contract under that clause makes me entitled to an extension of time. So now we prove the contractual entitlement. Then we check the contractual compliance. Did the contractor comply with the contract in submitting the extension of time claim? Also, I'll go for an example of the FEDIC because it is the most familiar standard form in the region. The FEDIC states that first the contractor needs to or obliged to submit a notice of claim within certain duration, 28 days, and to submit it as notice of claim. The contractor needs to comply with this and prove this in the extension of time submission or extension of time claim. This is the time frame. Also the content, and the content should follow this. The detailed claim should include description of event, contractual and other legal basis of the claim, as we said, for the entitlement, contemporary records, supporting particulars, any documents prove the events and the consequences of it. Within either 84 days or such other approved or agreed duration. So this time frame should be followed. So we need to proof or to review, if you are reviewing the extension of time claim, the compliance with the contract and the contractor did it on time, or if I'm the contractor, I need to prove I did it on time and as specified in the contract within this time frame and with all required documents. We need to follow our contract. Maybe we have a different form of contract, not FEDIC. So, for example, the NAC goes to a different approach and claims of cost and or time under compensation events, and there is early warning and different procedure and times to submit a quotation, and this question to the PM to review or reject. Here the PM is the contract administrator, not the engineer, like the case of the FEDIC. GCT has a different standard form, has a different approach, has relevant matters for loss and expense or relevant events for extension of time. So we need to comply with our form of contract. If it's bespoke or ad hoc or any customized style of contracts, we need to follow what's mentioned on our contract. Because some people, they like FEDIC, they attended few courses of FEDIC and they say, I submit my claim according to FEDIC, while the contract of the project is something else. Maybe it's NAC or following GCT or following an American standard form, or as we said, something customized or bespoke. For example, if it is an this American AIA suite of architects in America, it is a different approach and different terminology. Also, we need to follow the terminology of the contract. Here it's called, as we check now, that's called relevant event or compensation event under some forms and contract in UK, but in this American, it's called change order. And there is one recommended practice for, by the way, for ACE for this change orders. So we need to follow this. We need to follow and comply with our contract, and you need to comply with your contract clauses and provisions and conditions. Then we'll go now to the entitlement and quantification. So we proved the entitlement by the clauses of the contract. We mentioned it on our claim submittal, and the compliance, the contractor complied with the procedure of the contract. So the contractor is entitled. We need to check entitled to an extension of time by how many days. We need to make delay analysis to quantify and make quantification for this entitlement. There are two main delay analysis approaches. As per ACE, there is a prospective delay analysis approach, prospective time impact analysis as applied in construction, as per recommended practice 52R06 by ACE, and retrospective delay analysis as per recommended practice 29R03 forensic schedule analysis. And it includes good material and great explanation with the source validation and method. Every method includes method implementation protocol, source validation protocols, analysis evaluation, and how to choose your method. Actually, it's one of the best technical guidance for delay analysis in case of following the retrospective, and it's also supportive to the prospective delay analysis. What type of delay analysis will we select? These two types of delay analysis are mainly based on critical path analysis. So we need to know what is the program and the approved baseline, what is the critical path in this approved. Critical path is calculated based on track record calculation for the longest duration the project will be executed. We have different paths, different activities and dependencies in the program. One of these paths is the longest, and it will be to complete the project on time. The others are shorter and may have margin or time can be delayed without delaying the project. We call it total float. And this delay in the critical activities delaying the project. So we need to know while we are doing delay analysis with these approaches, this is affecting becoming critical and affecting the completion of the project on a critical path, or it increased the total float, this margin, and became critical, or it can be one critical or multiple critical path. Actually, it is not only these two approaches. Sorry, we need to mute this. I prefer also we can do with other methods sometimes. So we have other delay quantification methods rather than the prospective and retrospective delay analysis approach, which depend on the critical path method. And I brought here this from the SCL delay disruption protocol. They added other methods which may be reasonably deployed in particular circumstances. So it depends on the type of the project. So depending on the type of the project, we may do time exchange analysis, line of balance analysis, resource curve analysis, or earned value analysis, So all of these approaches can quantify the delay, and we can use for delay analysis depending on the particular circumstances or the case of the project. If it's a linear project and the line of balance can indicate the delay and analyze the delay better than the critical path method, we can go to the line of balance and analyze the delay. We can go to the earned value analysis, SPI, or earned man hours. So we have different approaches, not only prospective and retrospective, using the critical path method. But to avoid the disputes over the methodology, SCL recommends that the parties to agree on the appropriate method before starting the delay analysis. SCL has in their protocol mentioned multiple and good recommendations. It's not, till now I don't know, I didn't find it followed somewhere, but it will be good enhancement if it is followed by all parties, or use them, or send these recommendations to our employers while they are preparing the contracts or are dealing with the claims, to agree about. One of them is to agree about the method. If the method is mentioned in the contract and agreed by the parties to, we can follow them. We can follow this method, or we have to follow this method stipulated by the contract. And it can be also stipulated by sometimes stipulated by the contract, and as we will see, the market and it's applying by different methods. So if we refer to ACE recommended practice, we can solve this problem. It can be clear what to do to apply this method. The other methods, as we said, can include, first, we can be based on the critical path analysis. So we need to also, while reporting, we can use these indicators to indicate the delay, the critical path method to see the negative total float as indicator for the float, the SPI, earned value or earned schedule, the project phases and their impact and relationship between each other, the change of the critical path and the risk of these changes, the line of balance, if there one trade is affecting the subsequent, and the subsequent rates and the production rates of them, which will be delayed, which will delay the project. We can measure this and quantify the delay, the resources efficiency, and the trend analysis. If the contractor will continue with the same progress rate, what will be the delay of the project? So it depends on the circumstances. If the remaining work are with the same type of the work completed or the work in progress. So we are expecting with the same resources that will continue with the same progress rate. So in such case, it will be the trend analysis will be a good indicator for the delay. Even if we go for prospective and retrospective, which one is more useful and it's better to use? Here there was one case in UK 2018 indicate that the prospective delay analysis is the correct approach of the awarding extension of time claim. And it's from the practical perspective, it's for the interest of business efficacy. So the parties will know as early as possible, near to the time of the event, will know what is the consequences, what is the impact, what would be the entitlement to extension of time claim. So the employer will know the new date, the new completion date of the project. The contractor will know the entitlement, so arrange these resources according to this entitlement, instead of waiting till the completion of the project and calculate you are entitled to this and not entitled to that. You're delayed by 1 year and you are entitled only to 6, and they will apply LDs for 6 months. So why didn't tell me before? Why I didn't know before? And also the employer want to know this. There is an obligation on the contractor to complete the project on this certain date. There is an event by employer which will delay the project. So what is the quantity and quantification? Need to quantify this delay and give entitlement, so the employer will arrange himself and his business according to this extension of time. So that's why it is more practical to do prospective delay analysis and to know the extension of time entitlement as early as possible. However, this approach remains theoretical in nature. Maybe subsequent progress of work affecting this delay. The contractor could mitigate it, so the extension of time changes, or we can also measure the mitigation, the possible or potential mitigation measures in the beginning. Maybe the progress of the contractor affected this. They made some assumptions while preparing the extension of time, but this assumption was not accurate because they didn't know the real nature of the work, but the work and the productivity in this region is less, and the contractor needs more time and is entitled to extra extension of time. So for this, we need to make here in the same judgment, despite they said the judge said the prospective is the correct approach, they further added in the same judgment some form of retrospective analysis can be supportive and may be required to take into account the subsequent measure taken by the contractor to mitigate or resequence with resource allocation or acceleration. So overall, we can say the prospective is the most helpful approach for the parties to move with lights on and to know as early as possible for the interest of the business. However, the retrospective then helpful to move for the assessment from the foresight to hindsight, to know the actual measures taken and their impact to increase or decrease the consequences. What the standard forms of contract say? For FEDIC and NEC, the language of them, they are more prospective, and they do submit the claim after the occurrence of the event, not after the impact completed. However, in this case of law in UK also, the judge said it is permissible to do some retrospective analysis in line with the general approach of assessment of damages. When we assess the damages, like the case of the prolongation cost, we want to know what is the entitlement to the prolongation cost. When we assess the damages, we need to know it retrospectively, the actual cost that the contractor paid to the site because of this extension of time, or because of this event which extended the project. So we need to make it retrospective. And also in this case, the retrospective approach can assist the prospective approach. The GCT mentioned both in their clauses of decision, the conditions. They mentioned to make assess during the currency of the works, which is mean prospective, and then we can support it and they review this with retrospective analysis without reducing the extension of time claim, and also it can be only reduced in the case of omission. What is the prospective delay analysis? And the recommended practice, the prospective delay analysis are in 8 steps. The first step is to make a schedule fragment. The activities related to the delay with the fewest number of activities. We need to go with more details with the fewest number of activities that can represent the delay. Then make a logic insertion to insert this fragment to the program. We select an unimpacted program to insert this fragment inside it, and this is to be preferred to be the reviewed update prior to the event. So if we have the event in this month, we use the latest update before this month and then insert the delay. It can be also this unimpacted, it can be the baseline, and this is mentioned on the other recommended practice of forensic. We use the best event fragment and modeling and unimpacted to model the effect of an event properly. So we will decide which one will model it properly. Is the baseline or the update, or we can make both scenarios and decide which one is representing the proper impact. Fragment insertion, we insert this fragment inside the program. We check the mitigation, if the contractor did any mitigation, if no, or can do any mitigation, because it will be in the future perspective. It can, the contractor can do any mitigation. We can record this and include in the narrative of the claim. This mitigation is applied and to reduce the impact or minimize the impact of the delay event. If not, we will also should be stated in the narrative. Then we recompute and calculate the critical path and get the effect. To get the effect, we need to identify, we will measure it from which activity or which path. So we'll select a path to measure the delay. Then we determine the impact and check what the delay on that path and calculate it on the working or calendar days as per the contract. Most of the contracts are going with the calendar days, so we calculate it as stipulated on the contract in calendar days to make the extension of time to the delay and follow all contractual provisions. Eliminate any previous concurrent extension of time. So we add the extension of time from the latest approved extension of time claim and add this to set a new contractual completion date. And then if we have upcoming extension of time claim, we will go to the latest approved extension of time. And we'll compare it with actual observance. So in some cases, the event is clear to everybody. The event is a small. If we insert this on Primavera, it's early in the path and have many successors and many subsequent activities, and it is pushing the delay, pushing the critical delay and completing the project with unacceptable, unrealistic date. So make a minor change, but it's affecting the project with 1 year, while any expert or any anybody with the logic or common sense can see the impact couldn't be this much. So we need to compare it with actual observance and common sense, and apply this common sense again to the program and get the correct and appropriate or extension of time entitlement. This is a flow chart of these 8 steps you can find in the recommended practice until you get the award of extension of time and entitlement. The concurrency is not applicable. So as per EOT recommended practice, the extension of time by the measuring the extension of time using the prospective delay analysis approach, it doesn't give the concurrency. But in the forensic schedule analysis, we can get this enhancements from it for the implementation. To determine the excusable and compensable delay, it's possible to analyze approximate concurrency. So it's not a real concurrency or a concurrency we can rely on 100%, but it is approximate concurrency. By comparing two additive models, we will have two models. One of these model schedule we will add only or insert only the events that entitle the contractor to extension of time, if it's neutral event or employer events, and we'll see the impact. And another model will insert all contractor events, and we'll see the impact. And the impact of the employer will be the extension of time. The impact of the contractor will measure the concurrency. If it's the same impact, so it is all concurrent. If it is less or more, we can know what is the concurrent delay. Also, for the enhancement, we can make global insertion. We can insert all events at one time, or we can make a step insertion. Insert one event one by one in chronological order. The first event, then we see the impact. The second event, then we'll see the impact. And we can do, as I said, multiple scenarios, as we said, one on baseline, one or the update prior to the event, and check it with the actual observance and common sense test with the causation to determine the extension of time entitlement. And here they also repeat that it is theoretical in nature, the time impact analysis, and measuring the potential delay rather than the actual delay, because the actual delay can be different in the future. It doesn't mean it is wrong, but its nature is like this. And as we said, it's helpful for the business and for the interest of the business to know it as early as possible. And it can be supported also by retrospective if we did so. We can use also the additional validations from the forensic schedule analysis for the baseline to enhance the activities to be within this much of values, mainly the activities on the critical path we are examining and analyzing, to add level of detail if it's required, if we need to add some details or divide some activities. We can do this enhancement to the baseline. Similar enhancement can be done to the update. Other checks we need to know to the accuracy of the update, because the accuracy of the result depends on the accuracy of the update. Tabulate all sources of data. If we use different sources of data, we made different scenarios, we need to tabulate all of this and record all of this in our report and delay analysis report. We can evaluate also pacing or acceleration if exists. On the other hand, the retrospective delay analysis, I like the classification of it by the ACE. They classified it in different manner from the market. hey, here they are saying the forensic schedule analysis is investigating and calculating the measure and to measure and quantify the delay, focusing on causation. And this is very important to know causation while you are doing delay analysis and focusing on it to resolve the extension of time disputes. Here they classified the retrospective approaches to observational and modeled. Observational examine the schedule itself analytically without running the program, without recompute as we did in the time impact analysis. While the modeled, they make schedule and make run and recompute the path and the network of the program. The observational can be static or dynamic if we are comparing only two programs observationally and making this records and notes and tabulate this and get the result. We have this much of delays on this path, what was the total float, what was the potential impact, and then we'll make this analysis for all events and check this. If we are comparing two programs only, or we are comparing updates, it can be dynamic if we are comparing with updates as well. The model can be additive if we have a baseline and adding to it, or we have an update as in the time impact analysis prior to the event and we're adding to it. So we're adding a fragment, we're adding activities and run the program. So it is additive. Subtractive, if we are making simulating as built program and subtracting from it. So it can be subtractive and it is rarely used and very difficult to use. And for practitioners, I normally say it is like the start to finish relationship, which is not acceptable in Primavera and very rare to use in Primavera. They expanded this classification to different things, but one of the good things, they compared it with the common names in the market. If we look at the common names of the market, we can see the observational static, sometimes called Windows analysis. The observational dynamic, it can be called Windows analysis with different applications. The modeled additive, if it is multi-base, we are adding the fragment to different programs or different updates. Some people call it Windows analysis. If it is subtractive with also multi-updates or creating multi-updates and making subtraction from them, it's called also in the market sometimes Windows analysis. So it's confusing to use these common names. That's why the ACE did this classification to make it how you are applying the method and choose the method based on the approach and procedures and steps you are following in this application. So you can call it observational static, observational dynamic, modeled additive, modeled subtractive, instead of calling it as planned versus as built or window analysis or collapsed as built. So because some of these methods, as we see here, it can be applied in the market with extremely many different approaches. Finally, we are saying there is no forensic schedule analysis method is exact. There are data in, data out. We have its function of the quality of data used, its functions of the accuracy and the assumptions done by the analyst, and the subjective judgments done by the analyst. So we have many factors after even we are following all of these procedures with the detail mentioned in the implementation protocol of the ACE. It's still subjective and no method is exact, and you need to select the method appropriate to your circumstances and the case of the project, the type of the project. Either you're using prospective, retrospective approach, or even the other methods we mentioned from SCL. Now I finished, I will go to some case studies. I see some questions and things related to the case studies. People want to see some applications. We'll go to, we cannot go to a detailed claim or a detailed Primavera application, but I'll mention here some real examples, but in a simple manner. The case study, and we'll go to the questions after this. The case study number 1. Here we have critical delay in material submission by the contractor for a long lead item, and there is a delay in approval of the same submission. So this is the path where it includes the submission of the material and the approval and all subsequent activities of construction till the closeout of the project. And this path is completing before the contractual completion date with this much of total float. The first event took place at the contractor delay, so the contractor delayed in the submission. This impacted the path and more than the total float and became critical with this much of delay. So it's delaying the project and it's a critical delay. Then the other event is the delay in approval. The employer delayed in approval by the engineer, but it's an employee by the it can be employer risk, defined as employer risk event. And this is the cumulative impact. So this part delayed the project more and became delayed up to that date. What will be the extension of time claim? What will be the entitlement? Will be the contractor entitled to extension of time claim up to date 1 or to date 2? What do you see? Can have here in the chat some answers.
I think he will have the difference between 1 and 2.
In the chat, please. Because don't disturb the others. One said 2, and most of the others saying 2. The difference between 1 and 2. It's right. It's the difference between 1 and 2. It will be entitled to the extension of time claim, and this extension of time claim will count from the contractual completion date. So we'll add this if we have here the 1 is 20 days and 2 is the difference is 10 days. So we'll add these 10 days to the completion of the project. So the extension of time claim will be from the contractual completion date, not the date affected by the delay in approval, because we cannot exonerate the contractor from its delay and relieve him from the delay by the contractor, because this is dependent. There is dependency between these two events. So the extension of time will be there is one good thing here. It will be compensable or non-compensable. It's a good question. Also, it's a good add to this. In this case, it will be compensable or non-compensable? Compensable. Non-compensable. None. So here we can go, this is added to the completion date. If it's added to the completion date and causing an extension of time less than the contractor delay, it would be concurrent and no compensation. If it is more than the contractor delay, it could be there a compensation if the contractor could mitigate the delay and complete earlier than the entitlement. So in such case, we need to check this here against the events, and we need to wait until the completion of the project and to measure the concurrency retrospectively, because as we said, the compensation will be based on the concurrency, and the concurrency should be measured retrospectively, but here as a proximate concurrency, it is concurrent with the contractor delay. Let's go to other case which will discuss the contractor, the concurrency in more details. We have different events on multiple paths. So this lack of resources affected building 1 by contractor and delayed the project by this much. This event 2, there was a delay in design in building 2, affected the path of building 2 by this much. There was additional work in building 3, affected the completion of building 3 this much. So we have 3 events, 1 contractor, 2 employer events with the different consequences on different paths. So it's independent. In this case, we can measure the concurrency. The other one was dependent delay. So it's not a concurrent delay. Here we can measure the concurrency. There are different approaches to check the concurrency. Is this concurrency on the timing of events, on concurrency of the effect of them? And we can say event 1 and 2 are concurrent, but 3 is not concurrent with them, or all are concurrent because their impact here, there is some concurrency between the impact. So there are different approaches in this. I prefer to measure from here. That's why we did this in the previous example. So we can measure the concurrency from the delay, which are these impact delays, which are these events causing. In this case, what will be the extension of time claim and what will be the concurrency between 1, 2, and 3? Three minus 2 will be the extension of time. Concurrency 2 minus 1. 3 extension of time, 1 and 2 concurrency, 3. 3 minus 2 compensable. Three. Okay, so we have here the impact of employer is going to 1 and going to 3. So the employer events are affecting up to 3. So here up to 3 are caused by the employer. So it is extension of time excusable up to 3. But there is concurrency with the contractor delay, or approximate concurrency with the contractor delay up to 2. So from 2 to 3 it will be compensable, and from the contractual completion up to 2 it will be non-compensable extension of time. No extension of time for delay 1. It is covered up to 3. We don't sum, we don't make this plus this, because it are in different paths. So we go with the longest path, and the contractor can work parallelly and do both at the same time because a parallel path. So go to the longest one caused by the employer, and this is the extension of time. Case study number 3. We have capable delay by the contractor, and on the same path we have event by the employer. This is the unimpacted path with this total float from the contractual completion date. Then the contractor, due to lack of resources, is delayed. Impact of contractor risk event. And at the same time, there was a design change and released to the contractor on this date as an employer risk event with a cumulative impact up to that date. So this, when we applied the employer and added the fragment of the employer risk event on the update, which is already delayed by the contractor. We found this is the cumulative impact of both events. We did a different scenario to check the independent impact. So the independent impact, and to check the causation, if the contractor was not delayed, what would be the impact of the design change? So apply this without the delay of the contractor. We could mitigate this or apply it on the baseline, and we found this the independent impact up to this much. So what will be the extension of time claim in this case? 1 is the contractor delay, 2 is the independent impact, 3 is the cumulative impact of the employer and the contractor risk event. Two minus 1, 3, 2. We have all options now. Three, and some people is going with compensation. It's a different story from the previous one. It's extremely different from the previous concurrent delay. So here, let's go one by one. Here, this is the contractor delay. This is the cumulative impact. So this cumulative impact includes the contractor delay and the employer delay. So it includes both. It includes both means if we will go up to 3, we will give entitlement to the contractor, not only what is caused by the employer risk event, but only there is a contribution from the contractor in this delay. So cannot go with 3 because there is a contribution from the contractor in this delay, and we will go for the extension of time with 2, up to 2, only extension of time, because the independent is less than the cumulative. So the extension of time will be only up to 2. If the cumulative is mitigated by the contractor and 3 is less than 2, we will go to 3. So we'll go to the lesser one because we apply mitigation. So that's why here we excluded the impact of the contractor risk event and the granted extension of time only up to date 2. So the extension of time will be up to date 2. This is the entitlement. It's a good question also to check here. It is the approximate concurrency. Where is the concurrency? Yes, use the lib command. The mitigation, it is to do an actions or changes to the sequence of work or methodology with a minimal cost. So the mitigation has no cost. If there is an expense, it would be called acceleration, not mitigation. So the mitigation, in principle, it is with no cost, or minimal cost. What the contractor can do with minimal cost, it is the duty of the contractor to do this. But let's check here first the concurrency or approximate concurrency. Up to here, the contractor risk event and the extension of time up to here. So we have this much concurrent, and from between 2 and 1 will be compensable. But in these cases, it was, and as we said before, here the cumulative impact is more than this. So we cannot say this is compensable and the contractor can finish. If the contractor finish early, it will be compensable. So that's why it's approximate. So the entitlement up to here, if the contractor can finish early and mitigate this cumulative impact and do this actual on site, that will be compensable for the difference here for the prolongation cost and the indirect cost incurred by the contractor. Case study number 4. We need to check the mitigation here. I was asking about mitigation with minimal cost or no, it's not acceleration. According to the actual observance and common sense. Here we have the unimpacted path. There is a partial suspension by the employer. Impacted, when we applied this impartial suspension, and it's like in one floor of a 40-floor building. It's in a small part of the project there was an impartial, there was a partial suspension. When you applied this partial suspension using a fragment and adding the fragment to the normal sequence of the program, we found the impact on that path is too much. And it was, by common sense test, it was not expected to have this much of delay because of this partial suspension, this small area of the project. So we applied the mitigation duty of the contractor to resequence the work and leave this area till the end to complete the work of that area after working on the other areas of the project with a different sequence from the baseline program with minimal cost, because they will not do any more cost to do the work on that area later on. And we check this area, the affected areas is small. We reviewed the fragment and the impact decreased, and this was the impact according to the actual observation and the common sense test mitigation duty. What will be the extension of time in this case? Up to 1 or 2? 1, 1, 1. It is. Here everybody is agreeing. In this case, can be the simplest case we are representing today. So it is up to 1. The extension of time will be up to date 1, and of course it is compensable because we have only here employer risk event. It's excusable and compensable. So the extension of time will be up to date 1. The final thing I'd like to present is a sample of a table of content of extension of time claim. If you need to prepare an extension of time claim, we mentioned and addressed all key items to include and topics to address. So you need to make this and include this in the content of your submission. As any report, it's better to prefer to start with an introduction explaining the purpose of this extension of time claim, the denial analysis approach we are following of agreed by the parties can be preferred or mentioned person to the provision of the contract. Then the events, the narrative of the events. What are the events included in this extension of time claim? One event or multiple events, the liability of these events, and we go with the liability with the from where we get the liability. We get the liability from the contract. We can check the contract and who is responsible for this event under the contract. So this liability will come from the contract, or the factual causation will go the factual and legal causation. Then the compliance with the contractual procedure will add a section to this compliance to as evidence the contractor complied with the procedure, submitted the notice as required with the required form on time, within the time frame submitted or required particulars within the time frame. We'll prove the causation and entitlement, the causal link, and we can make this also in the narrative. We will make an event narrative. On this date, the event happened. All subsequences or consequences of this event will mention them in this narrative stated by reference. So it's very important to mention anything. We need to add the reference, add this document, and attach this reference in the claim. We'll make the delay analysis, all the 8 steps of time impact analysis. If it is the method, we can make the impacted schedule, all details as per any schedule, the details of any schedules and the attachments, if required, as a revised, or we can make it later on. But it's very important, if we mention anything in the event narrative, to be attached with substantiation documents in the extension of time claim. And one more important thing, in the conclusion, to be clear about the extension of time in days and in calendar days as per the contract, and what will be the completion date after the extension of time. Because we need to here to be clear about this extension of time is calculated from the latest approved completion date, as per the latest approved extension of time or the original contractual date of no extension of time, of no approved extension of time. And this is very important, because sometimes we have many extension of times under review. And in case of approving one of them and rejecting one of them, we need to know if they are cumulative. These days will add to the previous one or add to the original completion date, or what will be the reference if we approve these 2 months from which date. So we need to be clear while we are preparing or reviewing an extension of time claim or granting an extension of time claim, to be clear it's granted from which completion date, because it should be granted from the latest approved completion date, the original or the approved extension of time. Now I finished the presentation. Thank you for your attendance and listening. And if you have any question,
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. So very interesting topic and very detailed explanation, and I hope everybody are benefited from these presentations, because due to the time constraint, maybe we are getting the questions and forward it to you, and then we are going to reply it, and we are going to share to our attendees. So this answer. And for those who are asking, for the record, maybe just subscribe to our YouTube channel, and in the future we are going to upload this video soon. Okay, so before we end our technical webinar, let me share this certificate of appreciation to our guest speaker tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
So, in behalf of AACE, present this certificate of appreciation to our technical speaker, Mr. Muhammad Majid Gassi, LMM, MBA, PMP, CCP, and P3O, for being a speaker of AACE Arabian Gulf Section technical webinar presentation entitled Essential Elements of EOT Claims, Delayed Events Liability, and held during Wednesday, October 25, 2023, around 7 to 8 p.m., Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, signed by AACE President Ghassan H. Al-Dusari. So thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. So very interesting. Hope we could conduct again in the future any technical webinar. Thank you for all the attendees. Thank you very much. And of course, don't forget to click the link for your certificate of attendance. Thank you and good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.